Hello, my name is Michal from the Homebound to Eretz Yisroel organization. Today, we'll be covering 101 tips, tricks, and all-around good things to know for anyone new in Eretz Yisroel. So whether you're making Aliyah, thinking about making Aliyah, recently made Aliyah, or just live in Eretz Yisroel, this video is going to be perfect for you. We'll be covering a wide range of facts, opinions, and answers to common questions to help make the life of anyone who's new to Eretz Yisroel a whole lot easier. And of course, a little disclaimer, most of the things we're going to be covering in this video are opinions and ideas formulated by myself and friends, neighbors, and family. So if you disagree with anything that we say in this video, please feel free to leave a respectable comment in the comment section below. And if you have anything you'd like to add to this video, for future videos or for future references, please also feel free to leave that in the comment section below or to email us at jerusafilm@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's hop right into the 101 things that you should know. Let's start with the basics. Things that you should bring when you're making Aliyah. When you get here to Eretz Yisroel, there are certain things that are a little more expensive or hard to get. So I want to cover some things that are important to think about bringing. Number one is coolers. They are important to bring. Although you can get these here in Eretz Yisroel, you definitely want to just get started with these because they're cheaper, they're easier to bring from America, and you're going to need these because it is a desert, it is very hot in Eretz Yisroel during the summer, and if you are a family with children, you are absolutely going to need some coolers. These are not the plastic ones, these are the ones that if you put ice in them, they will stay cold the whole day. You definitely want to get coolers like this. Art Scroll Sfarim. If you're an Art Scroll fan such as myself and learn a lot of English Sfarim have to be imported here in Eretz Yisroel, so they are significantly more expensive. If you plan on learning a lot of Art Scroll Sfarim, you definitely want to stock up on all the ones you're going to need and bring them with you. Shoes. I'm not sure why, but for some reason there's certain sizes that seem to be harder to come by here. Grills. If you're a big barbecuer and you like to grill a lot, you might want to bring a grill. They're more expensive here and there's definitely less options. But just keep in mind, the gas here is a little different from wherever you might be coming from, so you might want to get the little orifice adapters to adapt it properly to the gas. Drop cloths. If you're in construction, you're a handyman, or you're a painter, you want to bring your own drop cloths. They do not sell them in Eretz Yisroel. Driver's license. You want to bring as many old driver's licenses as you can. If you want to switch it over, you're going to need to show that you've had a driver's license for a certain amount of years. You definitely don't want to lose those. You want to dig those up, make sure you bring them with you, because if you cannot transfer your driver's license over to an Israeli driver's license, it's going to be an extremely large headache. If you have a family with a lot of kids, you want to bring next season's clothing. When you get here, there's a lot to figure out, and you don't want to be busy having to shop around for clothing for your kids. You want to stock up on the next season or two worth of clothing. It'll make your life a lot easier and your adjustment here in Eretz Yisroel a lot smoother. Power tools are significantly more expensive here, so you want to bring all the power tools you have, and if you plan on using any in the future, you want to buy them in America, but do not buy plug-in power tools, buy battery power tools. The voltage here is different, and for your chargers, I would suggest you go on eBay or Amazon. Probably eBay is a better choice, and see if you can find 240 volt chargers for your batteries. Now, something also to keep in mind is the walls here are made of cement, so if you plan on hanging up pictures or putting holes in any of your walls, which is a pretty common thing to do if you want to hang anything up, you will need a drill with a hammer setting. So make sure you buy a drill in America with a hammer setting along with some hammer drill bits. It'll also make your life a whole lot easier. Again, for the most part, most things here are imported and are therefore more expensive, so you want to just basically bring anything that you think you'll be needing in the near future with you. There are a lot of companies that are not sold here, so if there's any type of makeup or lipstick or lotions that you would like to use that are specific in company, you will want to bring those also. Old Spice deodorant, not sold here. I love this stuff, so I buy it in America. You should too. Space-saving furniture. Chances are you'll be downgrading into a smaller house or apartment, and space-saving furniture is crucial. Again, it'll be cheaper in America. If you're bringing a lift, I would suggest you buy it there, get something solid wood, something that's going to last. Things such as beds with storage, tables with storage, closets. They do not have closets here. Many houses do not have closets. The bedrooms do not have closets. You have to put your own closet in the bedroom. So to bring closets is a very good idea. Stacks of drawers, these things are fantastic to bring. But try not to bring any bulky furniture because again, the bedrooms are generally smaller and something that may fit in your bedroom easily in America may not fit here. Now I want to talk for a minute about electricity. If you're coming from America, you have 110 volts. Here in Eretz Yisroel, just like most of Europe, is 240 volts. That means anything you have that runs off of 110 volts, if you plug it into the wall here, it will break. Some people may tell you to buy a transformer, which will convert 240 volts from the outlets here into 110 volts for the appliances that you might have. Do not do that. Transformers are not a good idea. They're expensive, they break, your appliances will still end up breaking, it's a headache. Don't bother. Take your appliances, sell them, give them away, buy new ones here, or buy appliances that run off of 240 volts in America and bring those. Now, in regard to how you can tell if something is 110 volts or 240 volts, on the back or underneath of most appliances along with plugs, and look for a place where it says model number, and under the model number it'll say input output. If the input says 100 to 240 volts, then you know it'll work here. If it only says 100 or only says 110 volts, it will not work here. So check all your appliances or anything you're going to bring and make sure that it says 100 to 240 volts. Now, appliances sometimes will be both, many times they'll be just 110 volts, but things like laptops, cell phone chargers are almost always going to be both 110 and 240 volts. So therefore you can bring these little adapters, you can generally bring your laptop, chargers, and many times even printers. Printers I find are 50-50. Sometimes they'll be compatible with both voltages, sometimes they'll be only 110, so you'll want to check that out and make the correct decisions before you come. Anything that is 110 only and not 240, just get rid of. Now, in regards to plug adapters, sometimes people will get mixed up between transformers and adapters, completely separate things. A transformer is a big box that will transform your 110 volts into 240. Adapters are these guys. I would suggest you buy a couple of packs of these guys on Amazon. They're quite cheap. Get these. Do not get these. These, they will not stay in the wall and they will break very quickly. These are stable. They will stay in the wall. They also have two inputs, so you can plug two things in at the same time. I'm telling you, these will be significantly cheaper. Stay away from them. They are garbage. Also, they sell them in 2-prong and 3. I would suggest you buy the 3-prong because they are more stable and will stay in the wall stronger. Some of the plugs here are a little bit shaky, and it's quite annoying when they fall out of the walls. So this is definitely the one that you want to get. Overall, the vast majority of things are more expensive here. Therefore, anything that you plan on using now or in the foreseeable future, I would suggest you buy and bring with you. Especially if you're getting a lift, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring any size items, and I would suggest you take advantage of it. There is an exception of 3 items that are cheaper in Eretz Yisroel: wine, silan, which is date honey, and bimbas. But I want to tell you something about bimbas. Bimbas will destroy your children's shoes and tzitzis. Every time one of my kids gets on a bimba, they will destroy their shoes and they will rip their tzitzis, because the way they stop bimbas is they put the feet on the ground, the front of their shoes, and they scrape against the ground to stop the bimba, and within 1 day of using a bimba, your kids will destroy their shoes. So if you want to be like me, forbid your children to ever use bimbas. If you want your children to use bimbas, then maybe get them a pair of old separate shoes that they have to use with the bimbas, otherwise it'll just be a waste. Once again, keep in mind that bedrooms here are smaller, so in regards to beds, if you have a king size or queen size bed, you will want to look into the place you are going to be moving into, because there's a very good chance your room will not be big enough to comfortably house such large beds. Now, in regards to twin size beds, in this country, for some reason, twin-size beds are actually smaller than the ones in America. So when it comes to bed sheets and measurements, you'll just want to keep that in mind, that the measurement for twin-size beds seem to be different. Now let's move on from things you should be bringing to other facts about Eretz Yisroel. Sunday is a work day, Friday is an off day. Cars are very expensive. There seems to be about 100% tax on them. You will very well want to think about switching over to an electric vehicle. I recently bought an electric minivan for my family, and it is a very worthy investment, especially if you have the money up front. You'll want to invest immediately into an electric vehicle. I'm telling you, there are so many people switching over to electric vehicles because gas here is expensive. There is an issue with electric vehicles. They don't drive far, so if you are a big vacationer or plan on traveling a lot, there's going to be an issue there. But just for city driving, electric vehicles are the way to go here in Eretz Yisroel at this point in time. Others might disagree with me on this point, but this is my opinion. Another thing you should know about cars is the Japanese cars here are the preference. You want to stay far away from French cars. Toyota, which is a Japanese car, is basically a name brand car here. If you can get a Toyota, get a Toyota. Get any Japanese car. Their parts are cheaper. They're easier to get. Also, I'd probably stay away from American cars, again, because getting their parts are more expensive. They're harder to get. And all in all, that's just a good piece of advice. Now, if you don't want to buy a car right away, there are fantastic options here for street car rentals, meaning cars that you can simply pay for on the app. You can go find the cars parked in the street and you can just get in and start driving. There are 2 companies called City Car and My Car. Both fantastic options. I personally have never used them, but from what I see, they're very popular and people like them, so it's a great option for anyone who doesn't want to buy a car right away. It's important to keep in mind this is a different country on a different side of the world with a completely different culture and different set of etiquette. Meaning, if somebody cuts you off in line here, or if somebody cuts you off on the road, do not get offended. It is kind of a normal thing. It's all good. Everybody loves you. If somebody tries to cut you off in line, just say slicha, push your way back in, and continue on. Now we'll just take a very brief break to say thank you to this week's sponsors, our very good friends over at buyitinisrael.com. They are absolutely one of the top English websites for all of your Israel real estate information. With comprehensive resources and expert advice from professionals in the field of Israel real estate, BidenIsrael.com is the place you want to be if you want to find information on up-to-date real estate news in Israel, advice from professional realtors, real-time market insights, and absolutely everything that you can possibly need to know to get you ahead of the game in buying or investing here in Israel. So whether you're actively looking to buy a house or you are involved in a new construction project, BidenIsrael.com has a little something for everybody. And once you're on their website, make sure to check out their very popular podcast, On the House. You can also find the podcast on Spotify. It is an absolutely fantastic podcast. So make sure you check them out ASAP, BidenIsrael.com. I would also like to say thank you to our friends over at the Shmiras Shabbos WhatsApp group. They are a WhatsApp group dedicated to teaching anyone and everyone about Hilchos Shabbos. They also now have a Hilchos Brachos Q&A WhatsApp group. I will put links in the description below. Make sure you check them out and join for all of these fantastic halachos and great shiurim. And now let's get back to our 101 tips for anyone living in or moving to Eretz Yisroel. WhatsApp groups are extremely popular here. There is a WhatsApp group for practically anything you can imagine. There are no school buses. A lot of kids take city bus. Here, that's a much more normal thing. I know in America, for a 8-year-old kid to get on a city bus sounds pretty wild to a lot of people. Here, it's very normal. So schools do not have buses. Your kids can take a city bus, and some schools offer a hasa'ah, which is a van, but you will probably have to pay extra for it. If you don't speak Hebrew, it's good to find a fellow parent in the school where you're going to send your kids to who speaks both English and Hebrew, because if you want to be able to communicate with some of the rabbis, teachers, or understand what's going on with the homework or future trips, it's always good to have a fellow parent in the same class as your kids who can communicate with you and tell you what's going on until you pick up how things work. Street curbs, there are 3 types. There are those that have no colors on them, and generally you can park on them. Then there are street curbs that have red, white stripes. That means no parking. And then street curbs that have blue, white stripes are metered parking. Metered parking can be paid for via apps, an app called Pango. We'll talk about that shortly. In Eretz Yisroel, you cannot turn right on red. If you do, you may incur a 1,000 shekel fine. On-duty police officers and ambulances will have their lights on. They will not have their sirens blaring, but their lights will be on. So if there's a police officer behind you and his lights are flashing, he's not pulling you over. It just simply means he is on duty. If you make a phone call to a company and they say press 1 for an English-speaking representative, do not actually expect that the person who will answer the phone will be English-speaking. Also, if you make a phone call to a company and they tell you, we will call you back, or press 2 for a callback, don't actually expect anyone to call you back. It probably won't happen. That's okay. You'll have to call back yourself. Basically, everyone who's moved here knows that customer service is very different. So if you walk into a store and you expect one of the workers to come over and ask if you need help, well, don't expect it. And if you ask to be helped, well, you may or may not get it. It's okay, just be a little more pushy. Unlike America, the banks here are not necessarily always there to help you so much. So with your banks, you will have to be a little more stubborn and a little more pushy to get good deals and to save money. As a general note, it's okay if you're a little more stubborn, strict, or pushy on the phone with anybody in customer service. It is not offensive here. It is kind of normal. I would recommend to anyone who's sensitive, such as myself, to try to hire specifically American servicemen or businesses, plumbers, carpenters, accountants, lawyers, anyone in between. If you can find Americans here in Beit Shemesh, you can find an American company for basically anything. You'll want to try to stick with as many Americans as possible. You'll just have a customer service and a type of etiquette that you are probably more used to. Although generally the Israelis will be cheaper in most industries, I will still recommend, if you have the money, to go with an American just for the ease. And I want to make it clear one more time, I love all Jews. I have nothing against Israelis. It's just a different country, a different culture. If you can surround yourself with people that you're used to and the type of culture you're used to, it'll be, specifically for New Olim, a much softer landing. And to help you, if you go to our website, homeboundisrael.com, you can find on our website a list of contacts here in Beit Shemesh of companies and servicemen that I personally know, personally worked with, that I can vouch for, trustworthy American people that will give you fantastic customer service. Now to cover a few must-have apps for those who are new to Eretz Yisroel. You have Paybox and Bit, which are essentially the equivalent of PayPal or Zelle. They are money payment and receiving apps. They're fantastic. I think they're all in Hebrew, but it's pretty simple to navigate around them. For public transportation, you'll want to download an app called Move It. It will direct you how to get around via public transportation, when buses are coming, and the such, good routes for walking. The Ravkov app. Ravkovs are the name of the cards that you will use to pay for city buses here. Here it's called autobuses. So if you plan on taking city buses at any point, which you probably will do at some point, you'll need a Ravkov card, and the Ravkov app will be used to fill those cards and find out some important information. Pango, as I've mentioned before, that is an app that you will use to pay the meters. It's a must-have if you will be driving a car. Then we have Waze, which you're probably all familiar with already, but just in case you're not, it is basically the equivalent of Google Maps, except it seems to be a little better here for Eretz Yisroel because they seem to be updated on Eretz Yisroel streets and roads much faster than Google Maps, I believe because Waze is actually created by a company here in Israel, so that's a good thing to have. And lastly, Google Translate, which doesn't need any introduction, but is an absolute must-have if you do not speak Hebrew. Some good tips for anyone buying or renting a house or apartment. When it says 4 rooms, it actually means 3 bedrooms and a living room. For some reason, they lump a living room into a bedroom category. So 3-room apartment actually means 2 bedrooms. A 5-room actually means 4 bedrooms. If you're moving here and planning on renting a place, just keep in mind that the previous renters are not required to clean the place up. In which case you might come to an apartment that has an old fridge, an old oven, possibly garbage on the floor. Keep that in mind. Don't get angry. You can stipulate this possibly in the contract, but that does seem to be the norm here. A machsan is a storage room. It is crucial to have a machsan. If you rent an apartment and it doesn't come with a machsan, there's a good chance you will have nowhere to keep your stuff. It's not always a given that every apartment comes with a machsan or a parking spot. These are things you want to stipulate and talk about before you sign a contract. In general, the only thing here in the apartments that run on gas is going to be your stove top. Water heaters and all the appliances are going to run on electric. Like I previously said, water heaters here are called a dud. Now, water heaters here usually have a timer, and you want to make use of that because electric could be a little expensive. And if you set your timer to only turn the dud or water heater on at specific times, that can save you a lot of money. So when you move into an apartment, do not neglect the timer if you have one. When renting an apartment or house through a realtor, the standard is to pay the realtor the first month's rent. Also keep in mind, there are people here, although they're not realtors, if they help you find an apartment, they might expect a realtor fee. So if you have an Israeli friend who is helping you find an apartment or house, you will want to talk about this before you ask for their help because they may expect a realtor's fee, and you want to talk about this so you don't get into any arguments. In addition, for whatever you're paying to rent an apartment in a building, there's usually going to be an extra fee which may not be stipulated called Vad Habayit. That's basically building care, maintenance, cleaning. It can a lot of times run anything between 80 to 250 shekel, so that is also something you might want to ask. If you're looking to buy an apartment and you're not in a particular rush, there are raffles here, where they basically raffle off apartments for very cheap prices, and the winner can pay a very low price for an apartment that usually is not built yet. It's an apartment on paper, which means you have the plans, you'll have to pay for it. It could take a few years to get built. So that's something you might want to look into, but also there's a lot of gray area with these things, so you might want to talk to somebody who has had experience with it. Building materials and climate here is probably going to be a bit different than from wherever you're from. You should keep in mind that mold buildup here is quite standard. You will need a little bit of mold maintenance. You might want to clean it with bleach sometimes, and a nice way to prevent it is to try to possibly have a dehumidifier and leave windows a crack open. This is something you want to talk to someone about. It can save you a lot of headaches also. If you're renting an apartment or house here and you have a contract, you'll probably want to show that contract to somebody who's fluent in Hebrew. Because, again, unlike America, there are different stipulations here, and if you're not fluent in Hebrew, you might miss some fine print that can be very difficult to deal with later on. So you want to run any contract by somebody you trust who can speak Hebrew and make sure there are no surprises. You cannot get Benadryl here. There are substitutes, but if you want Benadryl, you might want to bring. Bacitracin and melatonin need a prescription. It is easy to get a prescription. For the most part, most doctor offices here will have a website where you can go, send a message to the doctor, and they will very quickly send you a prescription online via message, and you can pick it up from the pharmacy, but you do need a prescription. Overall, a very good idea is that if anyone in your family has a specific medication that they need, make sure you bring a lot of extra until you can figure things out when you get here. For anyone with allergies, everything here has sesame seeds. There is no skim milk. 1% is the lowest fat milk you can buy. Coca-Cola and Pepsi here do not have corn syrup. They only have sugar, just like the kosher LePesach ones in America. So if you are a lover of Coca-Cola and Pepsi the same way I was, you will probably be met with some disappointment. Eggs here do not need to be refrigerated. Many fruits and vegetables here are seasonal, meaning there are certain times of the year that you will not be able to buy avocados, sweet potatoes, or pineapples, and many such other fruits and vegetables. Due to Trumas, Maasros, and sometimes Shemitah, it is not so simple to always buy fruits and vegetables at any store at any given time. You'll want to buy at stores that have a good hechsher, or you'll want to learn how to separate Trumas and Maasros yourself. When it comes to Shemitah, obviously things get a little more complicated. And talking about complicated, the kashrus here is also quite a bit complicated, and I might add political. Some might disagree, but I believe there are some politics involved, in which case you might want to find yourself one very competent or multiple rabbanim to discuss it with before you start choosing which hechsherim you are going to only eat. There are certain hechsherim which are quite widely accepted, such as Eda Charedis, Machpud, Landau, but it's also important to keep in mind that depending on the food you're dealing with, there might be a different level of kashrus that you might need, such as eating at a restaurant might require a higher, or it would be preferable to have a higher level of kashrus than buying a packaged or processed food. Along with meats and chickens, you might want a different hechsher or a different level of kashrus, as opposed to maybe packaged or processed foods. Fruits and vegetables, due to Trumas and Maisrus, also have some issues. Leafy greens, due to bugs, will have their own set of issues. So again, it is extremely important to discuss all this with a very competent and preferably not politically inclined rabbi. And due to these diverse and wide range of hechsherim, do not be offended if somebody does not want to eat at your house. It's nothing personal. A halacha, which unfortunately is not well known, is that mezuzahs here in Eretz Yisroel, if you are renting an apartment or house, you need a mezuzah the day you move in. Unlike America, you technically have 30 days before you have to put up a mezuzah. Here in Eretz Yisrael, there is no such halacha. You need a mezuzah the day you move in. Unlike in America, having a mincha and mariv together is not so standard. If you do want to daven mincha and mariv together at the zman, you'll probably want to find a Sephardi shul, because the Sephardim here seem to do it, the Ashkenazim seem not to do it. In regards to paying for buses, under the age of 5 is free per paying adult, meaning every single child under the age of 5 is free as long as there is per child an adult that is paying. Some very controversial subjects include going on to the Har HaBayis, Yom Ha'atzmaut, celebrating it, saying Hallel, saying a bracha, and I'll tell you the truth. My personal opinion on these matters are as follows. I think that everybody should... And that is my opinion on Yom Ha'atzmaut and on going on the Har HaBayis. But in all honesty, what I can say on the matter is don't get mixed up in this stupidity. All this stuff is petty nonsense. Love your fellow Jew. We should have achdus, and it's just a waste of time. Tissues. They come in bags, not boxes. Gold-plated jewelry. Take it off if you take a shower. The water here is hard water, meaning it's not from rivers or lakes or whatever. It comes from wells. It comes from underground. And it's got a lot of minerals in it, and it will destroy the plating on gold-plated jewelry. Plungers, they are useless here. The toilets are built differently. Plungers will not help you. If you have a toilet snake, you could probably bring that. That should be fine, but do not bring a plunger. It's not going to help anything. In fact, I will say the toilets here, they don't get clogged much. The hole on the bottom is much bigger than the holes on the bottom of American toilets, and they just don't seem to get clogged. Baruch Hashem, it's fantastic. Polypach, it is a great material that is manufactured here in Eretz Yisroel. It's basically 2 pieces of white tin with foam in the middle. It is structurally quite strong. It is an amazing material. It takes an insanely fast amount of time to put it together, and people build everything out of it. If you're looking to finish your porch and build a room outside, or shuls here are built out of it, everything is built out of it. When you get here, you're going to see there are going to be so many things built out of this white metal looking material, and it's called polypach. It is great. Get to know it when you get here. If you have a porch or something, you want some construction you want to do, polypach is a great option for cheap, fast construction. Measurements and temperature is something you're going to have to get used to. Everything here is different. You're going to have to switch over from inches and feet to meters. You're going to have to switch over from Fahrenheit to Celsius. What I would suggest is you have this. When you get here, you'll probably get this from Nefesh B'Nefesh. It is extremely useful. It has here your conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. You have your distance. You have 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. You have ounces to grams and gallons to liters, and this will help you understand and calculate all the differences. If you get this, do not throw it out. Make sure you keep it and use it. I use this all the time. It is fantastic. I would also suggest you go on Amazon and buy yourself a measuring tape that has on one side inches, one side centimeters, and it'll be very useful for you to be able to continue to make that calculation and that conversion, and it'll make your life easier because you're probably used to inches, but here everything goes by centimeters. Import taxes. Basically, anything over $75, you have to pay import taxes. Even if you're ordering 2 items and together they equal more than $75, you will have to pay import taxes. Therefore, if you are buying items here on Amazon, if it's more than $75, keep in mind you will have to pay those taxes. And if you want to buy 2 items and you buy them separately, you want to spread them out over a few day period, because if they arrive at the port here in Israel within a day or 2 of each other, and they catch hold that those 2 items are going to the same address, they will charge you the import tax. So keep that in mind if you're ordering multiple items and you want to try to avoid the import tax. You want to give a little bit of a space between the item orders. Like we said, the etiquette here is a little bit different. So if anybody asks you your weight or who you vote for, over here, those are considered normal questions, or at least it seems to be. Some important phone numbers you should know. 1230 is Yedidim. That is the equivalent of Chaverim. They are great for any car difficulties, such as a popped tire, or if you're locked out of a car, or if you lost your keys somewhere in a ditch and you need some help retrieving something, they're the people you want to call. United Hatzalah, also known as Ichad Hatzalah, is 1221, and Hatzalah Beit Shemesh is 02999992. Both United Hatzalah and Hatzalah Beit Shemesh are fantastic. A lot of English speakers, they will show up right away and help you and guide you and take care of everything that you will need. If something comes up and you decide to drive to the hospital yourself, you will need a referral from a doctor. Terem is the local emergency health clinics. If it's not important enough to go to the hospital for, and your doctor office is closed, Terem is the place you might want to go. A kuppah is the equivalent of an HMO, subsidized healthcare. There are 4 major kuppahs or kuppot here in Eretz Yisroel. How you're going to make your decision as to which one you might want to join is going to be based off of a number of factors. It might be based off of a family member's health needs. It might be based off of where you live, because each kuppah is going to have doctor offices in different locations. If you don't have a car, you might want to choose a kuppah that has a health clinic right near where you live. These are things you might want to take into account when choosing your kuppah. So you might want to first decide where you're going to be moving to and do a little research on that, and then you will know which kuppah might be best for you. Also, some of these kuppah doctor offices have pharmacies on site, which is also something to take into account. All of these insurances cover birth. It's also important to know that before delivery, you need to go and pre-register with the hospital that you plan on delivering in. Also good to know is that here, unless you pay extra, doctors do not deliver you. In the hospital, the midwives will deliver you, but it is very, very pleasant. They are very nice. My wife's experience when we had our child here was absolutely fantastic. The midwives, a bunch of young ladies, were very sweet, very kind, very loving, very caring, and we had a fantastic delivery experience. Doulas are very popular here, especially if you don't speak Hebrew and you want to have maybe an easier experience in the hospital in case you run into some people that don't talk English. You can hire and bring a doula along with you who will help advocate for you and make sure that things run very smoothly for you when you get to the hospital. Also, in some cases, your kuppah may even reimburse you for your doula. Also, another great thing to know about is chugim. Chugim are basically after-school programs for kids. They're very popular, and they have chugim for literally everything here. They've got climbing, biking, arts and crafts, drawing, painting, and swimming, literally everything in between. And a lot of chugim can be reimbursed or subsidized by your kuppah, your healthcare. Also, if you're ever outside and you're by yourself or you're with your kids and someone needs to use the bathroom, a great place to go is the local kuppah, the health clinic. These doctor offices, they're a great place to go because you don't need to ask anyone. You can go straight in, walk straight to the bathroom, use it. You don't need to ask anyone or get any permission. It's a great tip to know. There are also 2 major chain grocery stores throughout Eretz Yisroel, the equivalent of, you might say, a ShopRite or Target, whatever you want to call it, Osher Ad and Rami Levy. They are great stores to go to. They have bulk. They have everything you need at great prices. You just need to keep in mind, specifically with Rami Levy, is that depending on the city and the area that you are in, you might want to take a look at the kashrus, the hechsherim, especially on the fruits and vegetables, because they will cater to the local neighborhood. Also, many of these grocery stores have self-checkout. And the great thing to know is that many of them started having a English option on their machines. Another great thing to know is the ATMs and many other machines here throughout Eretz Yisroel are slowly adding English options to them. So if you have a bank ATM, you don't have to be too nervous. Most of them will have an English option. It is also a great thing to know. Zip codes here can be quite confusing. Every few houses might have a different zip code. To find out the zip code for your house, for deliveries and the such, you can go on the Torahs Yisroel website. Torahs Yisroel is the Israeli Postal Service. Also, here at the Postal Service, for many things that you might need to take care of, you will need to make an appointment. So make sure you find out, because if you show up without an appointment, you will be wasting your time. For many small businesses and store owners here, their hours of operation can be quite sporadic. A store owner may shut his store in the middle of the day in order to go to mincha. So if you're going to be going to any smaller store or business or even doctor office, you will want to call before you show up. And also another thing to keep in mind is if you are going to a small store such as a cell phone store and you are going to buy a specific item, call up beforehand. They very well might not have what you need in stock. In general, with any small businesses or stores, always call before you show up. It'll save you a lot of time. Now, although many of the things we just mentioned seem to be annoyances and inconveniences, the fact of the matter is the last few facts about Eretz Yisroel are the most important ones and why everything is worth it. Eretz Yisroel is the greatest place, without comparison, on this planet for every single Jew to live. It is the only place where every single one of your mitzvos are fully counted. It's the land that caters to our spiritual needs and is the land where you can grow in Torah and spirituality at the highest level. It's the most beautiful land, the most blessed land, and of course, the number one reason that every single Jew in the world should be living in Eretz Yisroel is one day Chag. That's our 101 tips for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and of course share it with your family and friends. And if you have any other tips, tricks, or all around good ideas, please leave them in the comments section below, or you can feel free to email us at jerusafilm@gmail.com. And for more information, inspiration, and motivation, please check out our website at homeboundisrael.com. And you can also check out our website where we create videos. We have a video production company, jerusafilm.com. You can also check out our Instagram at jerusafilm productions. And of course, thank you very much for watching. May we see the coming of mashiach b'mheir b'yameinu. Amen.